It is Tuesday, the 11th of June, 2024. My name is Pigeon Rose, and this is my song of the day. Oh boy, here I go talking about Elbow again. Honestly, I can't believe it took this long. We're in week 7 here, and it's taken me this long to talk about Elbow again, but here we are. I don't need to introduce the band, of course, because I've talked about them before. The last time we talked about Starlings, and this time we're talking about a song off their following album, which is called The Birds. Well, the album's called Build a Rocket Boys, all lowercase with an exclamation mark, but the song is called The Birds. It's the opening track of Build a Rocket Boys. Elbow are very good at opening tracks. So we're continuing the animal theme here this week with this song. As is true of a lot of the songs I'm doing this week, the animal itself is not, strictly speaking, the subject of the song, but it's important to the story. It's important to the kind of central, not metaphor, but the themes. And you'll understand that once we listen to the song and read the lyrics and talk about the meaning. It's a bit of a longer song. It's more kind of proggy than Elbow were before. So I'll be interested what you think of it, but we're going to listen to it now and then come back and talk about it. When this album came out, I was a bit apprehensive because, Elbow was one of the first bands I was big into. Like, aside from Lemon Demon, Weird Al, Tally Hall, and none of them were releasing new music all too often, right? But this was like the first album I was like really keeping up with when it released and shit. Well, Gorillaz, I suppose, but I had been so obsessed with The Seldom Seen Kid, and I was like, how do you follow that up? And so I was apprehensive about this album, but this being the opening track, I was like, all fear has been assuaged. This song is amazing. This album is going to rule. Now, I happen to think, in retrospect, this album doesn't really live up to the hype of Seldom Seen Kid. I think there's a few duds on this album, but the songs on this album that are great are great. They're some of the greatest in their catalog, and this is one of them. And we're certainly going to talk about at least Lippy Kids at some point in the show. But what a banger of an opener. And as I've mentioned in the previous Elbow episode, I have seen Elbow live many times. The first time I saw them live was before this album came out. It was on the Seldom Seen Kid tour. But every gig I've seen them at since, they have played this song, and it always fucking goes live. It's so good. The lights are flashing, especially during the kind of the second part where it goes into the do dee doo doo dee doo doo dee doo dee doo doo dee doo. Oh, it's so fucking good. He gets the crowd swaying their arms because he loves crowd participation. Does Guy Garvey? Yeah, no, this song fucking rips. It's so good live, and I'm always happy to hear it. What's the song about? Well, this is the thing. When I decided I was doing an animal-themed week, this was one of the first songs into my head. But I hadn't originally planned to talk about this song, even though I do like it, because I was like, I don't know if I have much to say about it. But I was like, well, okay, if I'm going to do animal-related songs, I'll look into it and see if I do have much to say about it. And it turns out, I just didn't know what this song meant. I never really looked into it, never really thought about it too hard. And I found the story quite interesting, because this song is supposed to be about like an old man in a nursing home telling the story of him and a previous lover to like the carers there, and them just like gently chiding him about always telling the same story. And it's like about how old people are kind of disrespected and patronized by people, and Guy found that really it's wrong, and it was a really interesting. I wasn't expecting that as a meaning at all. Like I could tell it was obviously someone talking about a former like love affair, but I didn't know what the context was, and I didn't understand the "what are we going to do with you" bit. Now it makes complete sense and makes the song really interesting. Especially, I currently work in a nursing home as a cleaner, so I don't have too many one-to-one conversations with the residents themselves, but I've observed this kind of thing, with people being patronizing towards old people, and it's not fun. And this is a really interesting interpretation of that in song. So let's go through it, shall we? The birds are the keepers of our secret, as they saw us where we lay in the deepest grass of springtime in a reckless, guilty haze. And they wove a sweet indifference, and it settled on our skin till the eyes that I remembered for the last time drew me in. such poetic language, it really does sound like a storyteller, you know. And he's saying the birds are the keepers of our secret, like there was no one around, it was just us. The only other people that could confirm this story, so to speak, are the birds who were there. The eyes that I remembered for the last time drew me in is a really interesting turn of phrase. He's saying, like, you know, this is like the last time I saw this person, right? And it's talking about the eyes drawing him in. It's a really sweet image. The birds, though I wore your glacial patience to a smudge of bitter dust, on the last day you embraced me with a glistening sapling trust. Did they sing a million blessings as they watched us slowly part? Do they keep those final kisses in their tiny racing hearts? Love these lyrics so much. Maybe it's because I love birds, maybe it's because I love love, but I love that bit of, did they sing a million blessings? Like the birds are singing. He's like, oh, are they singing for us? Are they wishing us well, you know? And keep those final kisses in their tiny racing hearts is so sweet. It's such a cute image. But I mean, he's saying, like, do they remember this? Do they think about this? Do they treasure this memory? Do they think of our love the way we do? Do they think about it late at night? Do they keep those final kisses in their tiny racing hearts? And then we get into the refrain of, what are we going to do with you? Same tale every time. What are we going to do with you? Come on inside, looking back is for the birds. And that's supposed to be the carers being uncaring and telling him, like, yes, grandpa, we've heard it all before, sort of thing, which is really sad. And then it repeats the first verse, the birds are the keepers of our secret, blah, 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 while interweaving in the what are we going to do with you? And then it does the same with the did they sing a million blessings part, so it like interweaves the previous lyrics while fading out. I love these lyrics, very simple, not as simple as some of the other songs I've talked about, but they're quite poetic, but really, really nice imagery of like these birds, watching them kiss and being like, oh, when will it be my turn? You know, but also capturing the kind of the sadness and the meanness of being so patronizing to the person telling the story. It's an interesting way to go about it. Musically, like I said, this is more proggy than Elbow's previous works, and since then they've only gotten more proggy. Each album they do some kind of experimental stuff, and I really enjoy it. And they keep like topping their longest songs. This was their longest song of their career to that point, and then next album they did a longer song, and the next album they did a longer song, and then they didn't do a longer song after that. But you know, they just kept getting, you could tell they were getting more proggy by doing that. What I find really interesting though about this prog turn for Elbow is that one of their biggest influences is another big English band, Radiohead, and I think that's most evident on their first album, Sleep in the Back. It's very Radioheady, but I think as they've gotten more kind of weird and proggy over the years, it's also become quite evident. Certain songs on this album, and like Takeoff and Landing of Everything and Giants of All Sizes, I feel like are quite Radioheady, and that's really funny to me because my dad fucking hates Radiohead and he loves Elbow. So it's always something I bring up. But anyway, man, I can't wait to talk about Radiohead in this show. But yeah, musically, I really like the way it builds. I love songs with distinct sections. We know this. I love the slide guitar in the background. But something I also really love is in the little transitional part where you get the ooh, and it's being doubled by the bass guitar. It's so gorgeous. I love that so much. And then when you get into the do 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 do, and you got Guy going, oh, another part that's great live. He gets the crowd doing it, you know. Yeah, I really love this song. I love it musically. I love it lyrically. I love it thematically. I love it live. Just a great song. Another thing I want to mention, because I'm not going to do a separate episode about this, but at the end of the album, there is a reprise of this song called The Birds Reprise, and it's just those bits that are repeated at the end of the song, the first and last verse, but sung by an elderly piano tuner named John Mosley. It's just an interesting little thing that exists. I'm sure I'll link it below if I remember. It's just an interesting thing to have on the album. But I had always wondered why they did that, but it ties into that theme of this being an older man telling this story, you know? So I enjoy that. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for us today. Like, comment, subscribe, show me to your friends, show me to your enemies, all that good shit. And I will talk to you with more animal songs tomorrow.
Break it down.
The birds, though I wore your glacial patience to a smudge of butter. Butter? Do they think of our love the way we do? Does it trouble your mind the way you trouble mine?